Hello everyone and welcome to an amazing miniature that happened in round 2 of the GRENKE Freestyle Chess Open Tournament. We have a game between Polish Grandmaster Maciej Klekowski and Super Grandmaster Aravindh Chithambaram, who we've featured on the channel many times. This is the first time we are featuring Maciej. So yeah, let's check it out and see why so many of you requested it as soon as it finished. So Maciej with white opens with pawn to c4, and it's the usual thing every time. You open up the rook, you open up the queen. If you can open up the light square bishop as well, so maybe considering a move like pawn to e3 or pawn to e4 can also be played. But yeah, players do get some time before the game to decide whether they will be castling queenside, whether they will be castling kingside, and which pawns to advance and which not. So here we have pawn to c4, and the engine likes this. The engine says b3, pawn to c4, or pawn to c4, pawn to b3 is definitely the way to go. You will open up your dark square bishop as well, go after the king and the rook, so it definitely makes sense. Aravindh replies with pawn to c5. He keeps it symmetrical. We have pawn to b3, pawn to b6, and pawn to d4, opening up the queen, rook, and bishop, as well. C captures on d4. We have queen captures on d4 and knight to f6. We have knight to c3 and pawn to d6. Knight b to d7 and knight b to pawn to e4 first. My mistake. Knight b to d7 and rook to d1 now. So just nicely developing. We have pawn to e6 and bishop to e2. Pawn to a6 with ideas of maybe pawn to b5 in the future, queen to e3 and queen to c7. We have pawn to h4 now, saying that okay, maybe h5 h6 is the idea, but maybe I don't castle at all and maybe I just go rook h3, rook to g3 and go after your king. Okay, we have bishop to e7, pawn to h5, and now pawn to h6, knight to d3, and this is the position where many moves can be played. Probably best is to hold on a little bit with castling, maybe pawn to b5 or queen to b7. But here castles kingside was played immediately, which is not a mistake or anything, but it just gives white a very clear way of what to do next. The rook to h3, idea is rook g3, put pressure on the king, and the threat will be queen captures on h6. So that is the idea. We have rook f to e8, rook to g3, now the threat is queen captures on h6, so you unpin, king to h8. We have pawn to f4, pawn to b5, now striking on the queen side, trying to open up the position. C captures, we have a captures, and now you could play knight captures on b5 right away, but then queen a5 and you're perfectly fine. You're attacking the knight. There's also a double attack on the e4 pawn. You cannot go back knight c3 due to rook captures on c3. So you're going to have to play something like pawn to a4, and then bishop captures on e4 happens, and black is very happy with this. But after a captures on b5, Maciej played pawn to e5. Okay, he's going after this sorry about that. He's going after this knight on f6. We have d captures on e5, knight captures on b5. Now it can be played. Queen to a5 and knight captures on e5. We have knight captures on e5 and bishop captures on e5. We have queen captures on a2 and now knight to d6. Okay, forking the rook, so obviously you have to capture the knight. Bishop captures on d6, rook captures on d6, and queen to b1 check. We have rook to d1 attacking the queen, and believe it or not, the position is already incredibly complicated. There's only one move that doesn't lose the game for Aravindh, and Aravindh is already down to 2 minutes on the clock. He played his next move with some 19 seconds on the clock. What do you think is the correct maneuver here? Where would you move the queen? Well, the only square that doesn't lose you the game is queen to e4. You have to go for the queen trade, but Aravindh played queen to f5. And now the position is lost, but perhaps not immediately clear why. So feel free to pause the video and win the game for Maciej while I give you a couple of seconds. So the only move that wins the game is rook to d7. It's not an easy move to spot if you don't know why it's so strong, but obviously you cannot capture with the knight, and we're going to show quickly why. If knight captures, you're going to play bishop captures on g7 check. Now, if king h7, bishop d3 wins the queen, that's easily recognized. But after king to g8, you still play bishop to d3, and now there just aren't any good squares for the queen. You could play queen a5 or queen to c5, offer a queen trade, but still just a nice bishop captures on h6, opens up a discovery. The king cannot go to h7, you have to go again to h8, and now a nice bishop g7 check, king g8 and bishop to d4 will pick up the queen, and that's all there is to it. So the rook is definitely off limits, and Aravindh played a rook to f8 with some 19 seconds on the clock, and this makes it a little bit difficult because there's only one move that wins the game, but unfortunately for Aravindh it is not that difficult to spot, and that is bishop to d3. Probably first move that comes to mind, but Aravindh still makes it interesting. He plays queen captures on h5, and now again there's only one move that wins the game. Have at it. Not an easy one. Maciej sacrifice, or rather tries to sacrifice the other rook as well. Plays rook captures on g7. We can give this one, a brilliancy sign because, having two rooks hanging like this, it's not something we see every day. But it cannot be captured. If the king captures rook, then queen to g3 check, and this king has nowhere to go. That's pretty much it. You have to play king h8, then bishop captures on f6, will be checkmate. So after rook captures on g7, rook to c1 check is played, and now queen captures on c1. The idea behind the rook sacrifice is that, okay, if you can sacrifice all of these rooks, I can sacrifice a rook as well. The idea is to stop queen g3 check once you capture the rook on g7. So, okay, queen captures on c1, king captures on g7, and now there are many ways you can play this. We're even going to discuss what happens when the top move is played, but Maciej just played a queen back to e1. He already calculated that queen g3 is winning, so why calculate any other lines? But for your viewing pleasure, I will show what happens after the top bishop captures on f6 move, because it's just that nice. The idea is after king captures on f6, you go queen c3 check, really limiting the mobility of that black king. So you have to play pawn to e5, queen e5, I mean, that's mate in one, so pawn to e5. F captures on e5, you're going to play king g7, e6, another beautiful check here. King to g8, and now another check. E captures on f7, rook captures rook to d8 with check, rook f8, and now bishop to h7 check, and after king captures on h7, rook captures on f8. And okay, now obviously the black king is getting checkmated, but still you have to check all of this and calculate correctly that after queen d1 check, you cannot go to h2. If you go to h2, then queen d6 check picks up the rook, so you're going to have to go in front, king to f1, and now, okay, queen d7, you're going to there are no checks, so you have to go defensive mode, but now, yeah, it's a very quick checkmate. You're just gonna go, for the usual stuff, rook f6, king h5, captures with check, rook f4, and that will be checkmate. So after king to g7, bishop captures on f6 is the cleanest, but, queen e1, you already, like I said, you already calculated that queen g3 is winning, no reason to calculate it again. Rook to c8, freeing up the f8 square for the king. We have queen to g3 check, king to f8, and here bishop captures on f6 was played, and it was in this position on move 30 that Super GM Aravindh Chithambaram resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. There are maybe a couple of more checks like rook c1 or queen c5 that you can give, but it doesn't do anything. King f2, for example, queen c5 with check, you're going to play bishop to d4, and if you try to sacrifice further, maybe keep the game alive with rook to c2 check, hoping that captures and captures happens. After king e3, there's no move that black can make. Queen g7 check, followed by queen captures on f7, checkmate is coming, and there is nothing you can do about it. There is really nothing. Maybe you can try queen h5, stop it like this, but then you can even sacrifice the queen, as so we like those moves. Queen to g8 check, beautiful queen sacrifice, king captures, and rook to d8 will be checkmate, as the bishop pair, well, does basically all the work in this game. So yeah, beautifully done by Maciej Klekowski. It's not every day that a 2474 player gets to play a classical game against a 2749 player, but in Fisher Random, everyone is invited, everyone can play. It's an open tournament, and heads are definitely falling already. And we can check out. Let me just quickly check out a couple of other games. Sorry about this. Seems that the stream is over. But yeah, there were a lot of upsets in the second round. For example, Arjun drew against Gokerian on board 2. Fabiano did win against Bibisara. Okay, Nepo won. Okay, on board 5, Aravindh lost. This was this upset. Shahriar Mamedjarov drew Tobias Quelle, international master from Germany, rated 24.59. Also very nice. Wesley won against Kilik. Aronyan won on his board. Teodora Ignaz lost to Lenier Dominguez, but it was pretty crazy game. She really had a chance to not lose, but yeah, I mean, Lanier is Lanier. Hans won again very convincingly. If you guys haven't seen Hans's game from yesterday, it was a really short miniature, so check it out. A couple of moves, also a very nice queen sacrifice, so yeah, check that out as well. Yeah, Rapport won, Liam Le won. Yeah, MVL lost. Maxim Vashiela-Grav lost international master Juraj Druska. It was also a very hard game, and so on and so on. For example, Vincent Keimer drew against French Grandmaster Anthony Wirig, rated 24.33. So not the results you would have in casual chess, or rather in normal chess. Here in scrambled pieces chess, anything can happen, and upsets will happen more often than I believe in regular chess. So if you have a game that you would like to see an upset that is a favorite of your own, use that hashtag suggestion, and I will happily check it out. So I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Derek King, Charles Benjamin Flynn, Diane Schwartz, Ilya Maltsev, and Mohammed Babar Khalil for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.